Hello, welcome to another filming that I've done of the 6 Diminished Theory. I'm going to try and condense this one down to less than 5 minutes. Please excuse my miniature primary teaching brain, I'm at school today. Groovy. So 6 Diminished Theory, sort of the precepts and the things that you just have to accept are that inversions do not matter. There is a bass player, because, all this stuff like major bebop scale is kind of its own thing. But the actual diminished sixth theory, it's only really a piano player, guitar player, and arranger thing, because you need many notes to work with at once. So in all of those contexts, there's a bass player who's hammering out those root notes. That's cool. So inversions don't matter, they don't exist. D diminished is the same as F diminished kind of vibe. Bass player always exists. And chord substitutions, we just accept. That you can add reasoning for chord substitutions, but it's like, if it has the guide tones and like a chord tone, preferably like more good chord tones, like, sort of on the hierarchy, the root is more important than fifth, but if you can't have the root, it's better to have the fifth than the 13th. That kind of thing. Cool. But chord substitutions just exist. There is nothing you can do about it. Sucked in, stooge. Alright, C major 7. Here's our chord substitution. Is going to be, well, that almost looks like I was giving the answer away. C major 7 is the exact same as C6. No, it's not. It has a totally different note. Correct. However, C6, me, Dan, and Barry Harris all think is the actual chord, and C major 7 isn't as stable as C6. That is our opinion. You can have your own. A minor 7 is also equal to C6. Chord tones of C6 are C, E, G, A. Chord tones of A minor 7 starting from the third are C, E, G, and root note A. Wow. Remember how inversions don't exist? They don't. So to figure out the minor 7, what its sixth chord is going to be, just go up to the third, which in this case obviously C, and then you just make that a sixth chord. So E minor 7, third of E is G, G6 is the exact same as E minor 7. Great success. Now D7. For our dominant chords, we're going to make all of them ninth chords. So every dominant chord, we're just going to chord sub, it's now a 9 chord. Now D9, we're going to take the fifth, which is A, and then we make that into a minor 6 chord. So guide tones of D7, alternatively D9, because that's what it is. Chord tones are going to be F sharp and C. I said chord tones, I meant to say guide tones. Guide tones F sharp and C. Sixth of A is F sharp, minor third of A is C. The system works. Great success. Note that you're missing is the root note. Again, bass players exist, they're covering it. Groovy. Now, I'm going to tell you the little secret that would get you thrown out of jazz school if you used it exclusively, but that's not to say that it's wrong. Anything that is a chord tone is a sixth chord. So once you've done your chord substitutions, anything that is a chord tone is a sixth chord. Anything that is not a chord tone is a diminished chord. Just accept it, it's correct. You can try it out if you want, but that's the general principle. For now, there's two types of diminished chords. I'm going to call them the 5 diminished and the Dan diminished. The 5 diminished goes like this. If you have the G7 chord and then you add the 9, which we did because it only exists as 9, but you add the flat 9. So imagining that we have a C6 chord, 5 chord, G7, we're going to add the flat 9 this time because it's not actually like a chord that's written on our chart kind of thing. And if it was, then you'd just obviously use this, not make it just G9. And from there, if you take all the chord tones, you will end up with G, B, D, F, A flat, alternatively you could call it G sharp. Take off the root note, because that's the bass player's problem. B, D, F, A flat. That looks like a B diminished chord. That's because it is. How I think of it, so how Dan thinks of it is, that is the 5 chord of C. We're going to write C here. We go down a semitone, and there's your B. That's how Dan thinks of it. How I think of it, 5 chord of C is G. We go up to the flat 9, which is up a semitone, and you end up at A flat. And you know what? Totally doesn't matter which way you do it. So there's your 5 diminished. So anything that's a chord tone of the relative 5 chord, it's like you got C6, 5 chord of C, G7, A to the flat 9 because we're feeling spicy, and then you end up with this. So we're going to call that the 5 diminished. That's a bucket of 4 notes. So again, CT for chord tone has 4 notes that are chord tones, 4 notes that are like 5 diminished, and now out of 12 notes there are only 4 that are left, and we're just going to call them the Dan diminished. If it doesn't fit into either of these buckets, we're just calling it a diminished chord. So the other 4 notes are also diminished. So basically chord tones, we're going to play them as a 6 chord of some description. Could be minor, could be major. In 2 out of 3 circumstances it will be major. In 1 out of 3 being a dominant 7 with a natural 9, very important to specify, then it's going to be minor 6. These ones, always diminished. These ones, always diminished. I hope that is helpful. Please enjoy.